This is the Nassaman Hockey Podcast with James Nichols and John Zella. All right, and welcome back to another episode of NHP. James Nichols and John Zella here as always. And John, so it's been a week of hockey, and I wanted to talk to you about both ESPN and TNT's broadcasts thus far. Thoughts and comments initially on what we've seen.
I like both. The ESPN one was very professional. I think they're working out the kinks on some things, shot clocks and things like that. But both are very good. The TNT one was very fun. It seemed very genuine.
Yeah.
And very real. So, and I think that's the vibe they're going for, kind of like the NBA broadcast. Gretzky shooting on Barkley was too good.
Yeah. I need more of that always and forever.
Yeah, I want them to just that group is just very, I don't know what to call it necessarily, but they seem just very they're hanging out, shooting the breeze about hockey, and that's a lot of fun to me.
Yeah.
It's almost like a podcast vibe. That might even be what they said to them is to hey, just loosen up. You're just on a podcast with your friends. Don't, forget the cameras there. Just have a good time. It seems like that's generally kind of what was happening, which is cool. It's cool seeing Gretzky. I don't know what I'm expecting out of him, something profound. I was waiting for it. I didn't it was cool on its own to have him there.
Yeah.
But I was waiting for something profound about the game. Maybe it'll come. I only saw one game so far with him. So yeah, I think it's good. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you totally. I think I liked TNT's a little more, although ESPN's was also great. One of the things I didn't like about ESPN's broadcast was the score bug. It was fine. It was just missing the shot count. And at first I was like, okay, whatever, that they don't have the shots up there. And then I was like, I wonder what the tilt is here. And then I was like, oh wait, what is it? I don't know. How am I going to know? I have to go online or something. So, but that's nitpicking at that point, I guess. So it was really good. But I think I like TNT's a little bit more. I also loved the Barkley segment. That was great. But I think even better was when Wayne got on the line with Ovechkin after his game. He was like, hey, Ovi, it's Wayne. And I was like, wow, that is cool.
Yeah, the two of them speaking is interesting. I mean, I bet you it's a lot like Gordy and Wayne back in the day or whatever. I thought it was funny when when Wayne Gretzky, I'm not I know who he is.
My buddy.
When Wayne Gretzky, the great one, was speaking over two of the goals, as they were happening. The kid, I think it was LaPerriere, his first NHL goal.
Yeah.
And he was just talking over it the entire time, and no one interrupted him because he's Wayne Gretzky.
Yeah, what are you gonna say? Stop.
Wayne.
Liam
McHugh is not gonna be excuse me, the person who's responsible for this game being anything remotely close to what it is. Shut up for a second.
Wayne,
we have to
shut
report
up
on this. Wayne, shut the hell up. We're watching a game. And it was bad enough it happened once, right? And then it happened a second. He was still talking.
I think he's just maybe excited to be part of the game. Again.
Like I said, he's clearly enthusiastic about it. It didn't seem like he was obligated to be there, and he was just there because it was something he should be doing. He was there. It seemed like he actually wanted to be having that conversation.
Yeah.
I think it's very funny that it's Wayne Gretzky, Paul Bissonnette, not taking anything
really
away, not taking anything away from people who make it to the NHL.
Yeah.
I won't. You made it, man. You're best of the best.
So
we can think you're just a body with knuckles, but you're really good. You made it. You scored a goal. That's
so it's funny that you said that, right? Because I was listening to his segment on talking about being on the broadcast, and he was like, they set us up, and I'm kind of towards the middle. And this is Paul Bissonnette speaking. He's like, I'm kind of towards the middle, and I'm not on the end, and Wayne's on the end. And I was just like, don't you want me on the end? He's Wayne Gretzky. Shouldn't I be over here? And they were like, no. This is how it is. You're going to stay there. And he's like, I can't accept the fact that I'm sitting closer to the middle than Wayne Gretzky. And then I forget who else. Somebody else chimed in. They're like, well, maybe that's how he wants it to be. Like if Wayne said I want to be on the end, then Wayne's going to be on the end. He's not going to move. So
Oh, 100%.
yeah.
100%.
So yeah, thought they were both great, ESPN and TNT. It's just different than what we've been getting from NBC. And how do I put this nicely? They were just very suit and tie, get business done.
Yeah, it was
And
stale
this was
though.
fun.
How long were they doing it? They
Right.
couldn't do anything different.
Right.
Nothing.
It was the
Nothing
same thing
changed
over and over
between
again.
2005 and 2020.
Right.
In 15 years of media, you
Right.
couldn't nothing. You couldn't do anything. And it's not like they also had, the sports network and everything where ESPN they're doing the game broadcasts, and then now it's part of their just regular like sports center segments and all this new stuff that they're trying to do. NBC had that opportunity. They didn't
Right.
do any of it. It was not any more of a focus on NBC other than when there was a game on. They were literally just broadcasting the games and hired some writers. It didn't seem like they were actually investing in what that end product would be, overall engagement, yada yada. They were just there for the games, and I think bringing on TNT definitely makes it fun. It's not a stale kind of, like you said, just kind of getting it down to business type product, and I'm happy to watch it. I got my ESPN Plus subscription.
Yeah.
I have access to TNT. I'm set. I love it.
Yeah. It's definitely refreshing. I'm happy
Yes.
that happy it went so well. All right, there was some news and notes that we have to go over regarding yesterday after practice. It was revealed that Martin and Semyon Varlamov were on the ice. Practice with the main squad. And it was also revealed that Martin's likely to play tonight against the Blackhawks. And per Andrew Gross, Varlamov seems likely for Thursday against Columbus. So that's good news. I don't anticipate that Corey Schneider will get a game. I think Sorokin is likely to start tonight against the Blackhawks. And then Sorokin will split time with Varlamov when he comes back, in my opinion. With that corresponding moves, Leo Komarov has been placed on waivers, and Dmytro Timashov has also been placed on waivers, but with the purpose of terminating his contract. John, I
Which
wanted
I
to
think
ask you about this.
you said multiple times that he's not in the NHL. He's likely not sticking around,
Yeah,
unless that's what you were
yeah.
going to ask me.
Well, I wanted to ask what your thoughts were on the termination, just because was this due to a player who just couldn't hack it, or do you think it was a result of just no room left on the roster?
Probably no room. Even he's not going to take Wallstrom's role necessarily. Like that would be really tough for him to kind of go into.
Right.
There's an existing depth chart as well, right? Like it's not just the 12 players on the roster. There's the 13th, 14th, and 15th forward. So you have to work your way up to like beyond past the players that Trotz already trusts. So like Trotz will call
Yeah.
up Dal Cole because he trusts him, because he can play a specific role. Obviously Komarov, who will likely be up and down all season depending on the salary cap. There are just existing players, and that's clearly not even Ross Johnston, or maybe it was just a shot in the arm, and you trust Komarov over Johnston, which I think makes a lot of us wrong that Johnston's just a good plug-in for Martin. Clearly the team doesn't think that.
I just wonder, if if buying him or terminating his contract, like, is he not enough in the AHL at this point? Because like they have a pretty decent crop of forwards down there, but not anybody who's like stand out, lights outish, and Timashov has a little bit of skill. I figured, he could have been a decent depth guy down the line.
Yeah, but if he
But
wants to
apparently
play,
they're not seeing something.
if he wants to play now, or at least be with the big club and have that chance to get in and not have to be a call up on a team, a cap team. Yeah, that's tough. He might, even on a cheap contract, it's still some players to move around.
Yeah.
And then Bellows too. I forgot to mention him
Right.
as well. So like, I think he just saw the writing on the wall where it was, he might have to stick it out until the spring in Bridgeport, and that might not have been something he wanted to do if he was playing in the KHL and making decent money and being treated like a professional. Not that the AHL isn't, but it's probably going to be a little bit better in K.
Yeah.
Then that's where you go. You're it's still a business at the end of the day. Everyone can make that decision. It seemed like it was mutually like a mutual decision there. So yeah, I think he would have been fine in the AHL if he wanted to do it. The Islanders would have said, "Yeah, you have a spot. Go for it." I think that would have really helped them. You get very good experience with some of those young players, some other fringe players, and really elevate that. I think they take a step this year in a big way. I think that's really important for the organization. But if he doesn't want to be there, then I guess see you later.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right, let's talk about games 1 and 2. Each were a loss, and first game was up against the Carolina Hurricanes, and not their best effort. A lack of cohesion was obvious in that game. Now, mind you, I'm sure you all watched it, but Varlamov and Martin were not in. It was Sorokin in net, Johnston on the fourth line, and then your regular top 9. But yeah, lack of cohesion. The fourth line was not themselves. It didn't help that Ross Johnson only played 5 minutes and 50 seconds. Chara and Greene did look a step behind. A lot of people were concerned with that. I'll tell you why I'm not just yet. However, though, it was obvious that the first line was gelling real well, and they're looking like a threat.
They do look good, like on a regular basis on shifts in both games. We won't skip ahead.
Yeah,
but yeah, they looked. I wasn't able to watch the game, but I watched the highlights. I did as much reading as I could.
Yeah,
but from what I saw, I agree with all of your points.
They looked real good. One thing I wanted to say about game 1 is that most of, if not all, of the goals against were not on Sorokin. There was nothing he could have done about the way the players played in front of him that game. It was on both ends of the ice. The Islanders weren't getting in front of the net to screen Anderson at all, give him any sort of difficulty. And then on their end of the ice, they weren't clearing bodies out from in front of the net. It kind of carried over into game 2. Sorokin wasn't as good in that game, but focusing on game 1 right now, that was the clear problem, was their net front presence on both ends of the ice. Getting bodies in front to block the view of Freddie Anderson, giving the defenders a problem, keeping them busy, keeping their eye off the puck. None of that happened in front of Freddie Anderson. And equally as important, none of that happened in front of Sorokin, whereas they didn't clear bodies out from in front of him so that Sorokin could clearly see where the shot was going.
Yeah, I think it takes a lot of effort in the system, as we know, right? Like that's usually we see this at the end of the season, but they've also shown that they struggle in the beginning as well.
Yeah.
So it takes a lot of effort. This is also the Carolina Hurricanes and the Florida Panthers. They haven't seen these teams.
That's another thing.
They haven't seen since, I think Staple had mentioned this in one of his recent articles, that I think it was
seasons.
March. Yeah, essentially 2 seasons. March 2020 was the last time that they saw the Carolina Hurricanes. Right. So not that there isn't tape and you can't watch, but they had some turnover. It's not like you, again, saw them on a consistent basis on the ice and what they did against your team. So it makes it a little bit harder. Yeah, so I think it just, that part of it's really difficult. I don't know that gives them a pass, but
no, definitely doesn't give him a pass. One of the other things too was that that Nino Niederreiter goal, he just walked Zdeno Chara, like he skated right around him as literally like a traffic cone. Bit of a concern there, but let's give it more than 2 games to freak out over what's going on. Let's talk about game 2. Ironically, this was a better game despite the score. Komarov was in for Johnston. That was the only lineup change, which I agreed with and kind of had said that I had a feeling it was going to happen. And Sorokin was not on his best game for sure. He could have stood to make a big save or maybe 2. that could have maybe helped turn the tide of the way the game was going. But I do want to talk about that goal that was called back on Pulock. You saw it?
I did.
So what did you think of that call?
It was confusing. I think what they try to do is just separate the two things. So like he as in Lee made contact and then was high sticked.
See, I don't agree with that. The way I saw it, from what I saw, was obviously the momentum was Lee on his way to the front of the net, like he always is, right? There was this weird, it was Guda, right? That was who was defending him. I believe it was Radko Guda.
Radko Gudas, yeah.
He, he was bringing his stick up high, and it was kind of swinging his momentum, continuing towards the front of the net. And yeah, he made contact with Bobrovsky, but I feel like he couldn't stop himself because he was tangled up with Radko Gudas. Is it Guda or
I
Gudas?
think he was.
I think I just said two different.
I think it's Gudas, not
Okay,
like the cheese.
Not
Gouda,
like
the
Gouda,
cheese. Not like Gouda the cheese.
which is my favorite, but we'll talk about that another time.
I guess so.
Okay, Radko Gudas. He was tied up with Radko Gudas, and I felt like him being tied up and bringing the stick. I mean, it was essentially over his shoulder, like almost near his neck, which is a high stick. And I don't know. I felt like the fact that they were tied up, it was just his momentum was being brought further towards Bobrovsky, and that's not his fault.
I think Lee was trying to get between the two of them, and that's where Lee needs to make that. That's, I think, from what the call clearly was, they were saying he had to stop. Like there wasn't any room. He was trying to make his room there. Gudas was trying to cut him off. He just continued and didn't make any there. Part of it's like, did he make an attempt to stop? Was there any kind of attempt to not do that? No, there wasn't. Interference. I think that's like just the black and white of it, which you can disagree with. That's totally fine. I didn't like it. I'm trying to understand it, which are two different, those two things are kind of different, but
yeah.
Or you can separate those kind of things, but that's the way that I'm seeing it. Yeah. He didn't make an attempt to stop. Whether I think what you're saying is he couldn't, even if he wanted to, even if he was making an attempt, it was hard because he was being did not have body position in front of the net, and Gudas was kind of raising his stick and doing that. It doesn't mean you can hit the goalie. Like,
yeah,
I think Freddie came out a little bit too. I don't think he was out of the crease, but he moved up to challenge a shot. He may have exaggerated kind of what happened there, but
you mean Bobrovsky?
I said Anderson.
You said Freddie.
I'm sorry.
It's all right. Wrong jersey.
Yeah, both losses that I don't particularly like, but
now, do you agree though that game 2 was certainly a better game than game 1?
Again, I was playing my own men's league game that we won actually, which is rare for us. So that was.
How did you do? What was the stat line?
Stat line is so we were down 2-0. Fought our way back, scored the tying goal, and then I wasn't on the ice for any of the goals against. So that was fun.
Nice.
But yeah, goal, couple apples. No big deal.
For you?
I got a new stick for me.
3 points?
I did maybe. I can't really remember. I know I got the goal. I probably
You're over a point per game.
We won 9-3. So there's a really good chance I got something.
Wow, look at you, beer league Yager.
Yeah, right. Some of these guys, man, I felt like I had a fridge in my back immediately. Some of these guys, they seem like they must be skating all year round. They're not in like good shape. Like no one's in like an incredible shape showing up to men's league. But yeah, some of these players just can really move. So anyway, yeah, I missed the game because I was playing, but the second one seemed better. That seemed to be the general feeling. I think that was from fans and media and everything. You don't like to see that, and I think we should address before we get to like our trending thing here. it's okay to be upset about the losses. Like, you don't have to enjoy that. You can think that they need to play better. That's not wrong. There's a line though between like, wow, they really did not play well. There's a lot they need to fix. There are a couple things that could wind up being a concern. You spoke about Chara, things like that. Something to, things to keep an eye on. It's like when you bring your car into the mechanic. What needs to get fixed right now? What can wait until the spring? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Not that we're saying, not that I'm suggesting we wait until the spring to address an issue. If
No,
there's something,
but the metaphor is there.
The metaphor is there. I'm just making sure I explain it. Because hockey season happens to.
Oh, John Zeller said that we should wait till the spring to fix this team. I don't know if he knows what he's talking about.
I mean, the end's not wrong, but so anyway, my point is, there are things you need to address now. Like, what do I need to get on the road now? What can wait a little bit?
Of course.
They put Komarov back in. They're going to get Martin back in. It'll be the first time the lineup is all together. I think that's like a little, not that I think that would have changed all that much, but now the full roster will be together.
Yeah, I agree.
Varlamov, I think just being around the team on game day will be really important. So yeah, I think they can stand to build a little momentum and try to figure some stuff out and play better. It's how you play in the losses. And they had better moments in that second game. But again, you can be upset that they lost and you can think that things need to change, but we're not ready to blow anything up here.
No, I totally agree. And I don't think the score indicated really how the game went. They lost 5-1.
There's a lot of just mental lapses, it seemed, though. Like
a couple of mental lapses for sure.
What was the end result in that Florida game?
It was 5-1. And here's what I'll say. They hit 2 posts. They got the 1 goal called back, so that's 3 goals that they could have had. Those little things matter. If those 1 inch to the right or 1 inch to the left, those 2 posts become goals, and somebody different behind the Toronto call sees it differently and says that's a good goal. Suddenly you have 3 goals. Maybe they don't have 5. You don't pull Sorokin, and I don't know. I think that game wasn't as bad. Things were going in the right direction. Let's talk about some trends here.
Really quick. I want to go back to the goal that was called back. I think what was really hard to watch was that it was originally called a good goal.
Yes.
So I think that was hard to digest.
Right.
And I can understand why that's really confusing. I didn't like that particular part either. I don't know why that needs. Coach's challenge is really good. That just seemed like the ref can be like, no, I saw it. Like, you're gonna go to Toronto on I saw it. It's a good goal.
Now, if Toronto calls, that's a different story.
Right. So I don't. That makes that part really annoying because it was called a good goal. It wasn't.
Yeah.
That's a lot like those millimeter offsides calls. Like, you're did that change anything 5 minutes ago? Kind of thing. Like,
that's funny that you said that, because it's like the neighborhood rule in baseball, right? Where if like a second baseman or shortstop's turning a double play and they don't exactly step on the bag, but they're like very close to it, it counts.
Yeah, and they did change the offside thing to like the plane, where your foot doesn't need to be on the ice; it just needs to be on the blue line, which is good, or at least behind the puck on the blue line. So yeah, I just want to touch on that before we moved on.
Yeah, no, that's totally okay. This is your podcast too, but let's talk about what's trending up, what's trending down, who needs to be better. We'll start with up, and in my opinion, the first line's trending up, looked really good. I like the cohesion between Lee, Barzal, and Palmieri. You know what it is that makes it a threat to me? I think that obviously, and everybody knows it, but Palmieri is a completely different player than Eberle. Eberle finessed his way through the zones. He tried to make these slick moves, these dangles, where Palmieri's more, bang bodies, push the puck up, and score from, at the bottom of the circles. And I think that just works really well for Barzal and Lee, because Lee's in front of the net. Palmieri's hanging out below the circles.
So you're a believer now in Palmieri beyond that?
I am. I am. I think what it was for me was, and credit to Mitch Anderson on this one. He tweeted that heat map of where Palmieri scores from versus where Lee scores from, and he Palmieri is a little more diverse, and I think why I didn't realize that was because he was replacing Lee at first for the Islanders, and he was essentially doing what Anders Lee does. Now that Lee's here and he's doing it, he doesn't have to be that guy. So I think that's what did it for me. So credit to Mitch on that. First line looks really good, and I'm excited to see how that trio works out for the duration of 82 games together. Bit of a scare though in game 2, huh? Anders Lee went down for a minute,
I
and
did not like that.
oh my good, the I don't want to say the good news, but it wasn't the knee that he hurt. It was the other knee
I mean,
that he banged.
That's
But still,
both
yeah,
worse.
no,
I hate that.
But a bit of a scare there, but he was fine. He was out on the next shift. Everybody actually thought he was going to skip a shift, but Komarov was just on for the face-off, and then they did a quick switch.
Right.
But yeah, first line trending up. Any for you or?
I like the first line. Pelican Pulak look okay as well. I think
they look good.
I think they're going to be kind of slow and steady. I don't expect anything kind of one way or the other out of them. That's kind of their role on the team. They're just shut down defensemen. They're a great pair. But yeah, the first line is good. I saw Palmieri just trying to shoot towards the net, and that's really good. I'm sure they'll gel even more, although they seem to be the only line kind of getting their way out there, so to speak.
Yeah. Trending down. I'd say the defense is trending down. And we'll talk about who needs to be better. But I think Pelican Pulak are doing just fine. But I think that everybody underneath them needs to be much better. One of the things with me, and I look at the Sam Bennett, I think it was the first goal he scored. Obviously, he had a hat trick. But
it wasn't his first career hat trick like every other time, so at least he scored another one.
No, and interesting to note, his first career hat trick was against the Panthers, so he had to make it up to them, and he scored a hat trick for the Panthers.
But usually it's like they scored their first goal against the Islanders.
Yeah,
and they're.
But no, I think it was the first goal that he scored in that game where Dobson tried to clear him out of the front of the net, but Bennett, and he's not even that big of a guy, Bennett, outmuscled him and kind of just shoved him off, and the puck landed right in front of him, and it was just a tap in from there. That's something that Dobson's going to have to work on. I don't know if it was just a mental lapse at that point. Not that it was a mental lapse, but he probably, I'm going to assume,
it wasn't a good play.
He just
wasn't
didn't
a focused play.
Yeah, he didn't give it all of his effort to clear Bennett from the front of the net. And I'm going to think that hopefully was a learning experience for him, and he knows to maybe try a little harder next time when he's, because he's the guy now, right? Letty's gone, Taze is gone. They're depending on Dobson to be essentially that third string defender behind Pelican Pulak.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's Mayfield doesn't need to be that player. I want them to think that it's Dobson. I think Dobson needs to step up in a lot of aspects of his game. I'm not, the power play stuff will come. He'll get those opportunities. I don't want to hear his name necessarily. I want him to be kind of a ghost out there. Just kind of that bot. Really, what really sucks is anyone not named Pelican Pulak just need to be a fucking ghost out there.
So
they just need to play and not make mistakes. That's essentially it.
Yeah. So obviously the defense is trending down, and we'll tie that into who needs to be better, and it's the bottom four of the defense. One of the things though that I liked that I heard today was from Elliot Freeman on 32 Thoughts, and he's somebody had asked a question. They're taking mailbag questions now. Did Lou Lamoriello only acquire Zdeno Chara for the sole purposes of grooming Noah Dobson? And he said, no, I don't think that's it at all. Obviously the first two games are what they are, and it happened, but there's still an adjustment period to have had here. And Lou still thinks that Chara can play, believes in him, and Chara believes in the organization. So there's going to be, some adjustments that need to be had, and he'll be just fine. I think the fact that Friedman, he's an honest guy. There's been plenty that Friedman has spoken about that he said, yeah, that's a bit of a concern. He didn't say that here. He said no. He believes that Chara can still play. Obviously, yeah, he's going to mentor Noah Dobson too. That's just part of who he is. But it's too soon to panic in the Zdeno Chara front.
Again, you can not like that he got walked by Nino Niederreiter.
Yeah.
You can say he needs to get better. And that kind of play shouldn't surprise anybody, considering Barzal did that to him 2 seasons ago in Washington, or
That's
last
true.
season in Washington. Like, that's not something, or whenever
Barzal,
it was.
Barzal and Niederreiter are two different kinds of players.
But it's
you're right.
Anybody with a little speed to the outside seems like that's fine. He was a little flat-footed. He's not a terribly strong skater. There were a lot of situations where I was like, he's not smooth. It's very choppy. I mean, he's just a giant human being stomping around out there. But
he needs to be better. But he's only been here a short amount of time. I think there's still an adjustment period to be had. Look, the third goal that Sam Bennett scored, Chara basically back skated all the way into Sorokin's crease. He didn't step up at all. I don't know if it's just an adjustment learning the system, but obviously his positioning was a little off.
It's
right?
Gap control.
He was a -4. Yeah, his gap control was off. He's a -4. Right, he's still getting to know Noah Dobson. Like, what are you gonna do? And he's trying to read his defensive partner. Listen, if we're in November and this is still happening, yes, that's a concern. Right now, there's an adjustment period going on. Chara's gonna be okay. Listen, we do this every year. We doubt. We have concerns. What is Trotz going to do? Oh, my God. And then what happens?
Yeah, a few people
every year.
A few people had started posting what the Islanders' starts were the last few years, and they're not particularly good. One of them even included like 5 games or whatever losses in a row. Some of them were like OT losses, but they're losses to me. I don't care.
Yeah.
You didn't win the game, so you lost. I don't care if you got a point out of it. It's not good. But they tend to do that. It takes until after game 10 sometimes to really get going for them. That's not great.
I know.
But the result the last 2 years is pretty okay. Yeah, so I think it's okay you don't have to like it. You can be worried. They still have to, that's why they play the games. Like, they still have to do it. Like, history tells us they get better after game 4 or 5. Like, things start to kind of gel and they become a little bit better of a team.
Right.
It's not exactly the same team. There are some changed pieces. There were some injuries to start the season this year. They were in other years as well. But I think that this is just part of the Islanders. It's not a good thing. You want them to just win the games. The same way that if they won both games, you're not sitting there going, oh, they're going back to the cup. Like, of course, they're just as good as last year. Like, that just doesn't mean a whole lot.
Right.
You're seeing they can win the games and still have a lot of concerns. Bennett or Niederreiter could have still walked Chara on one of the goals. You would have said the same exact thing even if they won that game. That still would have been something that we're saying is, that's a player that's trending down. If he was a -2 or 3 or whatever his advanced stats were, we would have said the same thing. He needs to be better. It has nothing to do with that. Sorokin can still want goals back. They can still win these games and not have played very well. They lost games and didn't play well. Okay, we know what we need to address. Luckily, it's not the first line.
That's true. That's a very good point.
The second line just needs to step up.
We're going to talk about that in a minute.
And I like, good thing another player. I don't think it was, who was invisible? Parise for the most part. Nothing one way or the other. Just, I think he played okay. Particularly the second game that I saw. There was, again, players.
But another player who's going through an adjustment period.
He's going through an adjustment period, but there was never like, oh, wow, that was bad.
Which is good.
And that's what I'm saying. He's a ghost out there.
Right.
You didn't hear his name one way or another. This was a mistake. He wasn't in position, this thing or that thing. And that's what you need out of him. He just needs to be guy on that line for the most part. Another player, let's go, trending up for a second. Wahlstrom is just shooting the puck. I loved seeing that early in that game against Florida. Just
Sure.
any opportunity. I'd like them to pick his spots a little bit better as the season goes on and hopefully getting better opportunity, but he's got a great shooting percentage even in just one season.
I agree.
And I like that he's one of the only Islander players that's his instinct.
Yep.
Is to get that puck on net. And he's not shooting to just get the puck on the net either. Not every time. He's shooting to score. And that's awesome. It's awesome to see.
I think it was important for him on that first power play that the Islanders had against the Panthers. He got fed a good puck and he shot it just wide out on the outside of the net. And you saw
so frustrated.
Yeah, you saw it in his face. He was like, "Wow, I can't believe I just missed that." I think it was really good for him that he scored later in that game on the power play, 10 seconds into the power play. The only goal of the game, but I think that was good for him because it was like, okay, I made up for it, and he can move on from that. Otherwise, maybe that, as a 21-year-old kid, I know I would have maybe dwelled on that a little bit, but it was good that he got on the board. Listen, big year for Oliver Wahlstrom, but let's continue talking about who needs to be better. And you referenced the second line before. They were a -3 against the Panthers, right? The only player or person worse than that was Chara as a -4. Them as a -3 is not good. You're getting top 6 minutes out there. You're playing 15 to 16 minutes a night. You can't be a -3. That's not good. That means you're not playing with the puck as much as your counterpart is playing with the puck. Need to be better there. Control the puck more. I don't know that I saw them set up in the offensive zone once that game.
That's probably right.
Yeah, so
they didn't play well at all.
No, they didn't play well. So expect more out of the Killer Bees. So this was an interesting one for me as far as what needs to be better. I almost wanted to put this under trending up. The power play. The sample size is too small still. I thought the power play looked really good against the Panthers. It was awful against Carolina. I thought it looked really good against the Panthers, though. Obviously, Wahlstrom scored that goal, like we said, but they've only scored 1 of 7 chances thus far. But I really liked what I saw from game 1 to game 2. Major difference.
A little more confidence. They were moving the puck around.
Exactly. They were moving it with confidence. They were able to. In the first game against Carolina, they couldn't even get the puck over the blue line to get set up. In this game, they were controlling the puck. They were winning the puck battles. They were dumping it, chasing it, and winning the board battle. So it was definitely a major adjustment on the man advantage from game 1 to game 2. If we see more of that, I don't see this power play being as bad as it normally is. I think if that was an indication of what's to come, things are going to get better on the power play.
Yeah. And it's something that they definitely need to just get going. Like that was a difference in a lot of games, even in the playoffs. Had they just been able to capitalize on some opportunities, I think that it makes a world of difference. And just to quickly go back to the Killer Bees line, a lot of them had a very bad Corsi rating. They weren't generating shots. They were on for a lot more against. Bavillier, probably because maybe some more power play time, which seems weird because Lee was also out there for the power play. His Corsi wasn't very good. Nelson as well, but Bailey and Nelson were on the lower side. Peugeot, Parise, and Wahlstrom the tops on the team in that game against Florida.
Yeah, the third line looks really good.
First line too. Also, on the top half of that, all above 50%, and then after Pulak, the rest of the team's down. So
yeah,
I think it's on both sides. The Islanders were letting up too many opportunities. That's very unlike them, and you can tell even in the Florida game, you can tell if someone didn't tell me the score of a game and just told me the shot totals. I know if the Islanders I feel like I could tell the Islanders are losing. I think they had like 30, 40 shots in that game. And I was like, yeah, when they're losing, this is what happens. They're
the
throwing,
Islanders
they're
were
desperate.
Shooting at some point like 20-12.
Yeah, I could tell that that desperation, that's getting pucks, that's just getting every single puck to the net. That's not necessarily quality. That's not what their game plan typically is. I
Well, I
think I
think they were
saw it at
controlling
some
the puck,
point.
though. I think that was the thing. They were controlling the puck. They were just
It's
very loose in their
possible.
own end.
I'm trying to find the shot totals for the game against
The
Florida.
game ended 30-29 in favor of the Islanders. So towards the
Okay,
end,
so that's
the
not that.
Panthers caught up a little bit, but by the end of the second period, it was like, or maybe halfway through the second period, it was like 20-13.
Yeah, maybe it was the Carolina game too that they had
Yeah,
more shots than usual, and maybe they just had somebody on, doing them a favor, putting shots on net to make their goalie look better. But
yeah.
in maybe in perhaps both games, but I feel like I could tell sometimes when they're not playing well, it's because they have too many shots.
Hey everybody, we just want to talk to you real quick about our sponsors over at DraftKings. NFL fans, are you hungry for the big win this week? DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, has you covered. New customers can bet just $5 on any NFL team to win their game, and if they do, you win $200 in free bets. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. It's that simple. If Sportsbook isn't yet available in your state, DraftKings won't leave you empty-handed. Everyone can play for huge cash prizes all season long with DraftKings daily fantasy sports contests. DraftKings is giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. So here's what you do. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now, use promo code THPN, bet just $5 on any NFL team to win their game and win $200 in free bets. If they win, you win with promo code THPN this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 years or older, New Jersey, Indiana, and Pennsylvania only. New customers apply. Minimum $5 deposit and $1 wager required. One per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Do you know what's spookier than seeing a black cat on Halloween? It's shaving your balls with anything other than Manscaped. When it comes to the below-the-waist grooming, there's no need to carve your pumpkins this Halloween because Manscaped is here to upgrade your grooming experience. Go from a bite-sized candy bar to a king-size candy bar and join 2 million men worldwide by going to manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping with code NHB20. Unlock your confidence with the Performance Package 4.0. Inside, you'll find the holy grail of men's grooming items. They've made it easy for you to upgrade your grooming routine. It's a full moon out and the werewolf in your pants is howling. It's time to tackle that problem with the Lawnmower 4.0. Manscaped even threw in 2 free gifts to their Performance Package 4.0, the Manscaped Boxers and the Shed Travel Bag. Bring your comfort and boxers to another level. They have a bunch of other life-changing products on their website, so be sure to check it out. Get 20% off and free shipping with code NHB20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code NHB20 at manscaped.com. Say trick or treat to your beautiful new Halloweeny with Manscaped.
Yeah. All right. I want to talk about the obvious adversity the Islanders are going through. A lot of questions being asked via the Twitter machine, saying basically, is the early adversity a good thing? Is this a bad thing? What is it? What do you think? And you already mentioned the Islanders tend to start the year rough under Trotz. What are your thoughts on the early adversity?
I think from the beginning, and we may have talked about this a few episodes ago. In fact, I'm pretty sure I mentioned that the road trip could be good adversity, just like a team bonding thing and all of that. Staple had another really good article on the Athletic about this too, and he was talking about with some of the Rangers players from a few years ago, or I guess not a few years ago anymore, 2013-14 or whatever the case was, and they had a similar road trip as they were waiting for MSG to get done. They had a 9-game road trip similar to the Islanders. And yeah, I mean, you gotta pull through it. It's staring you right in the face. It's not something that just goes away. They seem to get their act together. I think the adversity is good. I think they had a lot of hype going into the season. For the
I don't
first
think that has
time,
anything to do with this.
well,
Maybe the fan reaction.
I think everything was going right for this team. Back-to-back Eastern Conference Final appearances. There's an arena. There's nothing against this team. There's no one's counting them out. There's a lot of positivity around the team, right? It's hard to find that chip on your shoulder and play the style that they need to without that a little bit of that energy, a little bit of that kind of FU mentality. Us against the world type thing. Not that they didn't have anything to prove, but people were saying that they had proved it. I'm not, everyone said I'm not betting against the Islanders anymore. They're a good team. They got better this offseason. They enhanced X, Y, and Z. So, they do struggle early on in the season. They are on a really long road trip, traveling kind of all over the place. They are kind of battling some injury issues. So yeah, I think it's good. And their past performance tells us that they're capable of getting over it. But they do have to do it again. And that's, repeating yourself in the NHL is the hardest thing because there's so much parity. Just year over year, it's just difficult to kind of maintain that and have that consistency. And that's just a general Islanders problem. Even predating Trotz and Lou is just general consistency. But they usually, like I said, after 5 or so games, they usually put their foot on the gas and kind of figure out where the gears are, and they get comfortable and move forward. So I have nothing that tells me they can't do that again.
Yeah.
What is it last season? They won the first game. They got blown out by the Rangers in the second game.
Yeah.
And some of the seasons are like that. They're back and forth, and it's a little confusing, and you're trying to figure it out. Someone had this stat where they lost a few years ago. Whenever they won the 17 games in a row, it's at 1920. Too many seasons went by much too quickly.
We're on year 3 of this, pal. Can you believe it?
I can't. Oh, season 3.
Yeah. Same thing, right? No?
Well, calendar year, season starts and finishes.
Okay.
We had 2 seasons.
3.
This is the second season this year. Like we started and ended one and then started another one in one calendar year.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. So 1920, they lose the first game, win the second game, drop the next 2, and then win 9 in a row. Or whatever, from game 5, they win game 5 through game 14. Through and including game 14. Something tells me that's 9 games or so, but 9 or 10 games. So
yeah,
it's possible. And I don't think they looked, the losses, they let up 5 goals against Edmonton and Carolina around the same dates as this in games 3 and 4. And then they turn it around. They figure it out. They kind of move on from there. They're capable of this. They can do it. This is now, I understand it with the fans, there's a little bit higher expectation, different expectations now. That's the problem with winning, is now fans expect it. Some of us older fans don't yet. I'm still a little, I want to see it. But yeah, even in other years, so 2021, Islanders win 1, lose 1, win 2 in a row, then drop 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the last 2 are in OT.
Yeah.
And then they turn it around, and then they're winning more than they're losing. They go on a really nice streak in early March, that Sabres run, stuff like that. Like they were winning 2 or 3 in a row and losing 1. Losing 2 in a row. Like it wasn't a big deal.
Yeah. So I mean, here's the way I see it, right? I think obviously the positive struggle or the progressive struggle is good, right? The adversity is good in a sense, so long as they can rebound from it, and I'm sure they will. It was bound to be a tough start either way because the Hurricanes and the Panthers finished 3rd and 4th respectively in the standings last season. So it's not like they're just losing to these teams that are like, oh, they should beat every team in the league. No, I mean, the Hurricanes are still a good team. The Panthers got, they were a good last year and they got better in the offseason. So, like we always say on this show, you want the Islanders to play meaningful games. And I think that's the takeaway here. And I thought we got that for the most part in the Panthers matchup, despite the score. You want them to play meaningful games. Game 1, a lot of rust. Not really so much what you want to call a meaningful game. I think that was not the case in game 2. They played a meaningful game. I don't know. Listen, the Panthers got a couple bounces. Sam Bennett played great. Sergei Bobrovsky played well, also. So it's like these things happen. Right? You put up a stinker once in a while. Listen, if they're going to get out of the way now and play out the rest of the year, great, awesome. these things are going to happen. I don't think that this isn't panic time yet, which is
No,
our
I
next
don't.
point.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily panic time.
No.
I think you're.
There's
I
there's
think
a
you're
difference
right.
between having a concern and then panicking, right? Is that fair to
There can,
say?
yeah, I mean, there can be. I think the issue is like I said with Chara, right? That's a known issue. Him getting walked like that. That's
Yeah.
a known. That's a known issue. I don't know how you avoid that. That can't be. There's going to be a young player on every line that can skate better than he can skate.
Sure.
So it's not like it was just against the league's best, right? It wasn't like McDavid did it and it was like, all right, McDavid's going to do that. It was Niederreiter who was good, and that might be as far as as far as I take it. He's
Yeah.
a 20 goal guy, and that's really good in this league. But we knew that. We knew that that's something that he was capable of. We knew he
Yeah.
wasn't the best skater. He's going to get there. There's no shelter. None of this is getting sheltered now. The defense is what it is. You can't hide anybody here. They do not have enough players, and they tried their damnedest last game. I'll tell you that. I noticed that there was a lot of defense shuffling of the pairings during that second game.
Yeah.
They were trying to figure something out. Some of it was just, I think, an icing or two, but they were trying to switch some things up. They split up Pelech and Pulak for a second. I don't know if it was against particular lines in that game, but yeah, they were just against Florida. I can't remember, but they tried.
Yeah.
So like, there's some things that are like, okay, write this one down. That's a concern. You want Sorokin to be a little more focused. You want Dobson to be a little more focused. You need Chara to just be better. It's just early in the season. There's going to be there are going to be ups and downs to start.
These things happen.
Yeah.
It's not time to panic. I mean, come on. Has history taught us nothing?
Yeah, like I said, they still need to do it. So, again, history is telling us that they're capable of doing it, that it takes some time to get going. They just need to actually get going.
Like, come on.
So, as long as they do it, we're fine. As long as they actually do it,
do we think that they're not going to do it? We do this every year. Like, seriously, we do this every year.
I mean, I want to be as frustrated as you as far as like, yeah, of course. Like, what are we worried about? I don't have that. I know they went to Eastern Conference Final.
You didn't have that last year either.
The confidence?
Yeah. At certain points, you were like, I don't know, man. And I was like, I'm telling you.
Were they playing like dog shit?
Yeah.
Okay. So then that's
just what I'm talking about.
Right.
That's what I'm talking about.
If I don't know that it was panic. It was like, they need to show me something here. They
will.
I don't really subscribe to like, you're only as good as your last game. I don't like that necessarily.
Yeah. I don't like that either.
Or, what have you done for me lately? Those two games were just not very good. Like, they have a very big turnaround, an overcorrection. Like, they need to just shut out. They need to not embarrass the Blackhawks. They just need to play a full 60-minute game against them. They need to make that game. They need to leave that game going. That was the Eastern Conference Final Islanders that we've seen. Even if it's a 2-0 game, they need to say that Chicago shouldn't be able to breathe in that game.
I'll say this. This week, they should be able to squeak out 6 points. Their only challenge, I think, that they'll have, like, and I shouldn't say only challenge, but their biggest challenge that they're going to have is Columbus on Thursday. I think they're 2-0. Laine's looking really good. He's playing well with Voracek. And the goaltenders are playing well there as well. They should beat the Blackhawks, and then they're going to see the Coyotes on Saturday. Those are two teams that have to have at least 4 points, and I think they can get 6. They need to have a really good week. Tonight against the Blackhawks needs to be, because they're hurting over in Chicago right now. Like, people are calling for Colliton to get fired.
Well,
they need to
Seth
run
Jones,
over
the $9.5 million Seth Jones is playing like a pylon.
Right.
So which is embarrassing considering what Lou did with Pelech and Pulak and that deal. Yeah. So and embarrassing for Chicago, who doesn't need any more embarrassing.
Yeah.
Well, maybe they do. Good. I'm glad they're wasting the money on that guy. Shitty organization. Anyway, I think that's the they need to go in there, win 2-0, and Chicago not be able to freaking breathe. They need to be my biggest issue, actually my biggest concern, talking about that panic, right? What I really don't like, and what I think is different than in other years, and maybe someone remind me or us, it wasn't energy. It wasn't like it was energy and they didn't play well. It seemed like it was just lacking. Like the effort wasn't there. The vibe wasn't good, to use I think the kids say that. The general vibe
I
wasn't
don't like your
good with
vibe, bro.
the team. Don't talk to me like that. I didn't like the whole
Definitely don't like
thing.
that vibe.
Didn't feel good. You know, it wasn't like they were trying and just getting beat. It was the whole thing. Like it was flat, and that's just not their energy level. When they're at their best, when they're energetic and moving their feet. When
Yes.
Casey Zizekas is the only person you see motoring around a little bit, that's a problem.
We'll
But-
see what we get this week. It's likely Matt Martin's back in tomorrow, or I'm sorry, tonight, for Ross Johnston or Leo Komarov, whichever, back in his spot. Trotz also did say he is going to see what he can do about getting Aho sometime at some point. Said he deserves it. Had a really good camp. I think ultimately he's the reason, him and Salo are the reasons why Eric Gustafsson didn't stay on his PTO, because he played real well too, and I thought he had deserved a shot, but I think because of the strong play of Aho, the strong play of Salo, ultimately Gustafsson's gone. So you might see Aho dressed tonight, or at some point this week, just to give maybe one of those two older guys on the blue line, Chara or Greene, a bit of a break. So we'll see what happens there. All right, let's head around the rink. First time in a long time. Talk about Connor McDavid, man. Dude's already on fire. This is your note. Connor McDavid's already on fire. And as if he needed something else to be really good at, his focus this offseason was his one-timer. And he was like, oh, guys, by the way, watch what I could do now. I'm going to score a one-timer goal because I said I was working on it. Here you go. Game 1. Boom. One-timer. Goal. Enough, Connor. I've had enough of you.
And then he scored a hat trick in the second game, right?
Come on. Enough.
Yeah, man. It's what he is. He is what this league needs. They need to get him out in they need to do so much more media with him, and not just in Canada, just to get him in front of everything. He's just so good.
It's funny. I was talking to one of my father-in-law's friends the other day, and talking about how, and it's funny the timing of this conversation. Nobody cares about hockey. This, that, and the other thing. I'm like, well, hold your horses. They just signed with ESPN, TNT. I think it's going to grow a little bit from there. ESPN is a big deal. He's like, nah, nobody's ever going to care about hockey. And I'm like, let me ask you something. If I said the name Connor McDavid, what would you say? And he goes, who's that? I was like, this is the problem. They need to market this guy.
Yeah.
Like crazy. The other guy that they need to market as well, and I do want to talk about what Toronto and Arizona are doing with their dress codes. We'll talk about it later. But Austin Matthews, he's a freaking character, and I think he's great. They need to market him too. Like, they need to market these guys.
Yeah, I mean, McKinnon, Matthews. I mean, if Eichel was around, there's all these players that just need to find a way to get in front of a camera more. They need to do ads, and maybe we're not watching enough ESPN and TNT commercials. But
time out. Did you see the Ovechkin and Backstrom commercial?
Yes.
Oh my God. Chef's kiss. Mwah. Gold. Because we're partners. What's he gonna do without me scoring all the goals? He goes, Backstrom. Yeah. What then? It was just.
And they're eating cereal, and he's just
perfect.
Slurping the cereal.
And his wife was so good. She's like, why is he always here for breakfast? It was so good. Hey, listen, if that's the start of marketing the superstars, I'm in. I'm all in. That was awesome. Awesome advertising. I loved that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing is, they've been around. Like they're for sure household names in the hockey community. But
Yeah, that's true.
I
But
mean,
they got to do it with the younger guys now.
yeah, they need to find some other ways to do that for sure.
Let's talk about the Sabres, Ottawa, and Arizona.
Arizona was there. I thought they were doing a little bit better than they were. I think they had just like won a game, but
All right,
the Sabres
so
in Ottawa are doing much better.
Quick side note on the Coyotes. Andrew Ladd scored the other day. That was a real good feel good moment. I don't know if you saw it.
I saw the replay of it.
Good for him.
Yeah, what a terrible time he had at the end with the Islanders, because he came in, he scored like 23 goals.
Yeah,
it wasn't bad.
And then
like he would have been if he could have continued to do that, it would have been very good.
He came in, he scored 23 goals. Then we never saw him again.
I think he followed it up with like 16, and then he got hurt, and then that was it.
And that was it. But yeah, Sabres and Ottawa, I think they're both 2-0.
I think maybe Ottawa's 2-1.
Maybe they're 2-1.
Still, yeah, they're
playing well.
Yeah, Ottawa beat Toronto. They lost them in the second game there, their third game or whatever. But yeah, Buffalo, a little surprising.
Kyle Palmieri's playing well. I keep seeing his name pop up.
That's great to see.
That's
amazing to see,
especially because he had that health problem not too long ago that stopped him from playing. Remember?
Yeah, there was.
I don't remember what it was. What was it?
I remember there was an eye injury. I don't remember if that was on Long Island or in Buffalo.
No, it was something. He was with Buffalo. It ended his season. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it's nice to see the former Islanders having some success on these teams that are.
He had a broken cheekbone some time ago.
Yeah,
it was some facial.
Yeah, something like that. But it's good to see.
What would Butch Goring say? In the face area.
Yeah.
I love that. I missed hearing his little quips.
Yeah,
it makes me laugh.
But yeah, good to see the former Islanders having some success on teams that were not projected to do very well. Quick side note about how well they're doing. If we think about, and we had this conversation, what does regress to the mean? But if we think about all the teams that are supposed to regress back to their mean, you don't expect Ottawa and Buffalo to continue doing what they're doing right now.
No, I
the same can be said for the Islanders. That's all I want to say about that.
Okay, fair enough. We'll leave it there.
Okay. Per Rick Westhead, sad stuff here. If you want to skip ahead 30 seconds because you don't want to, have to hear the sadness about that I'm about to talk about here regarding Jimmy Hayes. But Jimmy Hayes' father, Kevin, quote, he had an injury for a while, and I think he started taking the painkillers, and they get you. This, I believe, shit is supposed to be there. This shit is so powerful. And long story short, the Hayes family was told on Friday that former NHL player Jimmy Hayes had fentanyl and cocaine in his system when he died on August 23rd. So thoughts and prayers with the Hayes family. Is just not easy news to have to hear, especially, your own blood.
Yeah, this is a national problem. This is beyond the NHL. I mean, this is a specifically in the National Hockey League, just the painkiller issues and everything else. But this story, just as a person, this individual in the United States or in Canada or whatever.
Yeah,
I can specifically speak to the United States because I worked shortly for an organization that was dealing directly with this particular issue, and addiction and opioid and all that kind of stuff, and how that progresses. And it was really upsetting to see these people, see what they were going through.
Yeah, no, it's tough.
And
you wonder what.
Please get help if you need it. Talk to somebody if you know somebody. Do what you can. This is really hard. It's an epidemic and throughout the country. This is just one story. This happens every day. And You think Jimmy Hayes is, this great guy and all this stuff. This happens to great people every day. They get caught up in
Yeah.
this crisis that's going on. It's easy to overlook it.
We're probably not going to get a statement from Robin Leonard just because him and the NHL are kind of at a truce about this, and they're working behind the scenes to, do a better job
Right.
with all this stuff. But that's ultimately what this is.
Well,
he
you
was
gotta look at-
prescribed some medication to help subside some injuries that he's got or he was dealing with in the previous seasons. And
Right. Look at Price. He went into the
Yeah.
player assistance program.
yeah,
You hope it was far enough away where he wasn't close to this kind of storyline. I don't know if that's even the right thing to say. That doesn't feel great to say, but you don't want that to also be the result with more than one NHL player. I don't want it to happen with anyone. I don't care who it is.
No,
and
you're right.
everyone seems to have a story about this. So
Yeah.
this is something that connects to everybody. Yeah, just terrible. So I hope the NHL can get it under control. Like I said, if you need help, there are a lot of resources out there. Either send it to somebody if they're ready.
Yeah. Speaking of injuries, Nikita Kucherov apparently out again. Surgery possible.
Waiting on news. And then, like, the first thing that pops in everyone's head is, oh yeah, he'll be back for round one of the playoffs. Oh, somebody had said, I don't know if it was Sean Gentili or somebody, one of those, some hockey writer and like bigger market hockey writer, and they were saying he needs to be out 6 months and 1 day before the start of the first round of playoffs or something like that. And I was like, oh man. And then you start thinking, like, if the Eichel situation was getting any kind of traction one way or another, this or that, would he even be ready? How do they acquire him and keep him, and all this kind of stuff. And all of a sudden you see Eichel in Tampa Bay. But yeah, Tampa Bay. So go ahead.
The thing about that is, right, say they put Kucherov on LTIR, that frees up money, and then they go out and they acquire Jack Eichel, who needs surgery and will be going on LTIR. That's more money.
Well,
essentially,
yeah,
they could be gaining $19.5 million with 2 LTIR stints there.
Yeah, I don't exactly know how that works, so that's tough. I think
I don't
moving
like that.
forward, it wouldn't. I don't know that it would work just because moving after that, like the off season, they would have to move a lot of money off the books somehow.
Yeah. Speaking of Jack Eichel, by the way, today Elliot Friedman confirmed that the Colorado Avalanche checked in on him, as if they need more superstars over there. He did say, though, he doesn't think it's likely because Buffalo is not going to retain any salary, and I think that's the only way, or he said he thinks that's the only way that Colorado would be in on him, but would be interesting to see. Before we move on to the next
You're killing me here.
Did you have something to say?
Well, like 2 points ago.
Oh, so sorry.
And you're just running through the list here.
I'm Jeff Maricking you.
You're just hard. Jeff Merrick. Well, after his whatever going on the other night, you don't want to be that guy. So just speaking about Tampa Bay, I got an opportunity to meet a Syracuse Crunch assistant coach the other night. He came into the brewery, Eric Villieu, and super nice guy. And we were chatting just about there were injuries. There was guys that got picked off waivers from Tampa that were supposed to be in Syracuse, and some of the the whole second line leaving Tampa Bay.
Was it the kid that went to Seattle?
Yes.
Yeah.
So like even a team, even an organization like Tampa and with a good AHL squad like Syracuse, they're in a little bit of a tough spot too, just because they always have a lot of players that are very good that they can call up. Syracuse has been pretty good for a few years. But it didn't sound like it, it was like, this is tough. Like it's a lot of rearranging you have to do. And so I think a lot of teams are having this issue, just maneuvering players. So, and Tampa's not off to the best start.
No,
So they might be also going through some growing pains. So if that's any kind of solace for Islander fans, they have their own stuff to figure out.
Yeah,
But
they lost their first game, mounted a huge comeback against Detroit after being down 4 goals, and they actually won that game.
yeah, it was 7-6.
Yeah, crazy.
They're 2-1, but it's they're a -2 on the season. That's kind of incredible.
Right.
So not every the Islanders can be 1-1 and have not played well. Like Tampa just happened to kind of squeeze an extra one out there against Detroit. So yeah, the teams seem to be going through it. And then you talked about Eichel, and I can't remember what you said. So we're gonna move on.
I had said that the Avalanche checked in on him.
Oh, so yeah, with Eichel, I think what I've been hearing, I think on Puck Soup and maybe one other place, they had said Eichel at this point, if he got the surgery like soon-ish, he'd be ready for the Olympics. Like what GM in their right mind is going to trade assets for him and then risk that in the Olympics? Like, so his first games back are not going to be in the Olympics.
Unless that's his training camp.
Yeah, if you're a GM, you just gave up those assets on a serious surgery. It doesn't really matter which one. Serious surgery. That's risky.
It's tough.
So it's
tough decision.
Yeah. So you hope it gets resolved, but you don't know when he'll even be back. He might just be, regardless of how it shakes out, whether he's on Buffalo or not. He, hopefully if he's in, gets traded, he can play some NHL games and go into the playoffs. But he might not be back at all. It might just, depending on how the surgery goes and all that other stuff and what the teams think about it, might take longer than that. You certainly hope not, but I tend to agree with some of the discourse happening around that it would be unlikely for Eichel to be playing his first games in like 2 years.
Yeah.
In the Olympics. So I just want to say that as well.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with Jack Eichel. Quick question before we get to our last segment. Both now the Coyotes and the Toronto Maple Leafs, with the influence of Austin Matthews, ironically, are easing up on the dress code. Tonight's the first night that the Toronto Maple Leafs are showing up to the rink, not in shirts, ties, suits. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's good. I mean, it means that players that want to continue to dress up can, in full suits or whatever they want to wear, they can do that. And players that want to ease it and be a little more relaxed and not as uptight can also do that.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of tradition there. I mean, I think a lot of players that played travel or even high school hockey, that was part of it. You showed up to the rink and you didn't look like you didn't come in pajamas.
Had to go to school like that.
Yeah, a lot of teams did that. So, yeah, I mean, there's some tradition there. Is it a little weird? I don't think. Again, they're not coming in like. I mean, unless they're not coming in like track suits or something like that. I think they're still going to.
Austin Matthews was wearing Adidas pants today.
Okay, cool, man. Like, sure. I wouldn't have guessed that. Maybe I don't know him well enough.
Yeah, it was like a Adidas pants. I think like a t-shirt with like the 2 buttons on it, so it's like a little bit nicer, and like a cardigan over it, and he's wearing one of those straps that go across his chest with the fanny pack. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. I understand what you're
saying.
Yeah. The messenger bag style thing.
Yeah.
Oh, was it an actual fanny pack?
I think it was an actual fanny pack. He just tied it around his like chest.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a thing
over the shoulder.
Because I have a messenger bag I used to wear for when I left the house for work.
When you used to deliver messages.
When I used to deliver messages, right? A courier. No, so all right, that's fine.
Yeah.
It doesn't bother me. It means almost nothing. The league is, I hate this because it's like marketing jargon nonsense, but like the league is getting younger. This is just the personality. This is just what it is. I don't think it's breaking from anything necessarily. New traditions are started all the time. The game is different. The players have different personalities. This league desperately needs this kind of thing. They really need players to kind of break out and be some sort of individual here. I guess you can do that with the suits, but if it means they're more relaxed and maybe they play a little bit better and they're a little less uptight, cool. I don't suspect this will be an Islander thing with Lou Lamoriello ever.
No, I don't.
I think if someone was missing a button on their shirt, they might be sat that game. They might mysteriously have an undisclosed injury from being smacked upside the head.
Yeah.
So I don't suspect that's an Islander thing.
No, me neither. But I'm with you. I think it's good for, again, advertising their players, letting them show their character.
Yeah, I think it's important.
I don't think it's the worst thing in the world if, teams decide, all right, we'll put it up to a vote amongst the players. Maybe some of the, maybe majority of the players want to wear the suits and ties. But yeah, I think it's cool for the Coyotes. I think it's cool for the Maple Leafs, and we'll see how that makes waves throughout the NHL if it does.
I imagine more teams will follow suit. No pun intended.
Yeah, could be. All right, let's talk about some interesting things that happened with COVID protocols and taxi squad. Question mark. The Maple Leafs had to sign college goalie. I don't know what his first name was. Last name was Bishop. As a backup against the Senators the other night, and it was because they couldn't call up Michael Hutchinson due to cap restraints.
Alexander Bishop.
Now, granted, this Alexander Bishop, he's essentially an e-bug, but he was playing in NCAA, and I think at one point he was in the CHL. I forget which league he was in. So really cool story. But this whole the cap crunch is here. It's not going up anytime soon. Like, it might go up next season by $1 million, if that. The caveat there too is that the league minimum is going up, or it's up now. It's staying the same next season and going up the season after. There's just a lot of moving parts here that I'm still a little surprised the taxi squad's not a thing.
Or they'd have it, even if they just like copy and pasted it into this season, or try to figure out a way, like it's, especially for emergencies, or especially with like COVID, the Seattle players that were out. McKinnon is still, I think he's still testing positive.
Yeah, my fantasy team is taking a hit.
So I'm really surprised, like with a whole bunch of these issues that are kind of going on. I don't know that it necessarily solves this particular issue. Like, he wouldn't have been able to get called up. There was like emergency recall issues. Like they couldn't do it right away, where it wouldn't count against the cap. They just couldn't do it right away. All that's a little bit of a mess, beyond my understanding, or at least my knowledge at this point. So definitely an interesting story. I think David Ayres, I don't know if he spoke to Bishop directly or spoke to a reporter about what to expect and like to enjoy it and that kind of thing. But I thought that was funny as well.
Yeah. Speaking of the COVID protocol, let's talk about Evander Kane. Evander Kane was suspended for 21 games for breaking the COVID protocol. And what was it that he did, John?
He submitted a fake vaccine card.
Yeah.
Which is real dumb.
Yeah. I wonder if he's... So the league came out and said that there's 4 players, and we know a couple of them. Bertuzzi, I think it's Archibald, Mackenzie Blackwood, and then unknown number 4. I guess it's Evander Kane.
That may bring it back up to 5.
Or right, that was
or 5 or 6.
Yeah.
How about this stat? Evander Kane, it'll cost him $35,000 every day through November 28th.
That's a player who's already filed for bankruptcy, and
it's
he's got some. Listen, we spoke about him a couple of episodes ago, and we were saying to each other, are they just looking for something to catch him on? But now it's obviously pretty clear, and he came out with a statement. I want to apologize. I made a mistake. Yada yada. It
makes things difficult. Just like the every bit of the story, because everything just gets mushed together at some point.
Yeah.
You don't want to see this because he's really good.
He's a very good player. It's tough, man. This is tough.
And that's silly. He put people at risk because I don't know if I imagine they're still getting tested regularly, but that's just not a good look. You're telling
They are.
people
That's
that
why
you're
like McKinnon's out and
I guess
Ryan
so. But
Strome's out.
still putting people are, if he was around people's kids, and they're comfortable with him because they think he's vaccinated and all that kind of stuff, just being around the rink or something, which I don't know that if he was or wasn't at this point. But yeah, it sucks. I don't like that. I mean, on multiple levels, I don't like that. This is disappointing to say the least.
Yeah, pretty tough. I think that wraps it up for tonight, pal.
I think so. I feel like I had something else, but I can't think of it. So probably best to just. Oh well. So by the time you're hearing this, or maybe at some point we'll be announcing. So maybe you're hearing this before you read it online. But we're going to be part of the Isles Fixed family. I think we said last episode that
things were in the works.
Things were in the works, and that we're going to be partnering with them. But we're putting both sides are putting pen to paper officially this week, and we'll be part of that family. Thank you for people that are subscribed to that. It was a hit after a week. How many subscribers do we have? It was incredible.
Almost 600.
So
really cool.
Very happy to be. Both of us are writing,
together
curating mostly, writing together again. It wasn't very long. It's not really writing; it's more like curating the newsletter. But it's all the news and the highlights from the day before, which is great. Right in your inbox to get you ready for the day, and it'll be moving really quickly. It'll make the season go real quick. Editing these newsletters, which you would have gotten this morning too if you're already signed up.
Yeah, if you're not subscribed, definitely do so. It's listen, not that we're surprised, we just didn't know how much love we were going to get on it. We've gotten a lot of positive feedback on the Isles Fix newsletter. Honestly, I haven't seen one negative comment yet, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, it's been great. It's been awesome to see.
It's been really great. It's been really fun to do, and I'm enjoying seeing people enjoying it themselves. So if you're not subscribed, definitely head over to Isles Fix on Twitter. The link is in the bio, and subscribe, and you'll get that newsletter to your mailbox every morning. And you will be all caught up in case you missed anything. We got it for you. All right. Want to say thank you to DraftKings and Manscaped. Use that THPN promo code with DraftKings and NHP20 with Manscaped. We want to say thank you to the Hockey Podcast Network. And now, Isles Fix. And of course, all of you, our listeners, please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to or watch the show. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube at Nassabin Hockey. You can also join our Discord for a safe space to chat with fellow Islander fans. Lastly, you can find my work at the Fourth Period, John's work at the Hockey Writers, and combined at Isles Fix. Until next time, everybody, let's go Islanders.